Hi, and welcome to the webinar on understanding who you are. And during this webinar, we're going to talk about who are we and why are we who we are and why are we doing the things we've done. And we're going to start on time because it's really important you guys are here on time, and we really want to honor that, and we really want to, get right into it and get started in here and getting you the information. And I thank you for being on time. And I asked you as you were coming into the webinar to please put your name and what it is that you wanted to do or wanted to be when you grew up. And I want to see and get some ideas on what are some of the different things that are what you wanted to be, and why maybe if you want to share a little bit about it, why you wanted to be that would be great. If not, that's okay. Just give me the one word telling me what it is you want to be or wanted to be when you grow up or grew up, I mean. Anyhow, and as we're doing that and as you're entering that, I'm getting a chance to look at some of the comments, and that's great. I have somebody who wanted to be a ballerina. I have another person who wanted to just be wanted to be a firefighter. Um, he says, I wanted to be a policeman, but I'm glad I didn't become a policeman. Some of those different kind of comments. And those are the kind of typical things that we find that as children, we have big dreams. We have dreams of being and becoming this phenomenal people, adding and giving and being a part of our lives in society. And that is really exciting. And those are the things that we are born with a desire to do, to become great, to become this fabulous being here on earth, to really take this experience to the next level. And for whatever reason or for however it happens, things kind of get in the way and kind of clutter it up, and we start losing sight of those dreams. We start losing that hope. We start losing that vision. And it's like, why do I no longer want to be? I wanted to be a phenomenal athlete. I wanted to be this. I lived, anybody who knew me back in that day will tell you, I lived and breathed winter sports. Oh my gosh, it was just the most incredible thing for me. But I lost that, and I lost that dream, and I lost that vision because of some limitations that were placed on me and some different things that were said and done, not necessarily by myself, because I did the training, I did the work, I did everything to become that person and to become that athlete and to do. But then there was an outside force that came in and caused that change and caused that experience to not happen and to not be honored. And those are the kind of things I want to talk to you about a little bit today on the webinar. And we all have this habit of becoming somebody. And I'm going to use an example of myself. I had a situation happen back in 2005. And in 2005, I came home and found my husband had died. And I began a journey from that point on of discovering who was I. I was somebody's daughter. I was somebody's student. I was somebody's athlete. I was somebody's somebody. I then became somebody's girlfriend. I became somebody's wife. I became somebody's mom. I became somebody else. I became the divorced somebody. And then I became a remarried somebody. And then I became somebody's grandma, somebody's mom. And so as you can see, our whole lives, we actually become somebody. We become something that is outside of maybe who we truly are, and who we truly go through life as. And it's not to say it's wrong to be somebody's wife, somebody's mom, somebody's daughter. No. But I don't want you to get lost in that. I don't want you to get caught in being that somebody else is somebody, not being your true self, not being who it is that you feel you should be. You can be a mom and be a star athlete. You can be somebody's grandmother and be a phenomenal author. It's finding that truth and that honest statement within yourself. Why am I who I am? Why do I do what I do? Why do I say what I say? As I'm reading through some of these things, like I said, the fireman, the police officer, the ballerina. I have somebody else here who says a pro football player. I have a couple other people who are saying that they just have one girl who says, I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a mom. Those are lofty dreams. Those are things that are reality, and those are things that make us who we are. But what happens, maybe circumstances and situations get in the way and cause us to not necessarily be who it is that we came to be. And some of those things happen in a manner that's very subtle, very silent, but yet it's all of a sudden it's how we become. Nothing irritates me more than to be out in a public place and hear a parent, hear an adult bringing down the energy of a child. There was an incident. I was in a store, in a department store, and this father, you could hear him in every aisle of the store. He was going on and on and on at this child about how stupid he was, how dumb he was, how he needed to get a brain. And it's doing everything I can to keep myself from just wanting to go and just shake him and say, stop. Don't continue to hurt and harm this little person. It just tore me up to the point I pushed my cart up to the front and I said to the cashier that was working, I said, I've got to leave my cart. I will be back. And she kind of looked at me and I said, I can't take the atmosphere that's in here right now. And she just kind of nodded her head and I said, I don't know how you work in this. And anyhow, I left, and after a little bit, as they were leaving, I began to go into the store. And as I passed the mom, I handed the mom my card, and I said, if there's ever a time that you need somebody, give me a call. And it just ripped me up and it just tore my heart out. But, you can't just walk up to people and tell them, hey, your parenting skills stink. We have to use the wisdom and the guidance that's within us. And a few weeks later, I get a phone call and I answer the phone, and it's this mother, and she says, thank you for sharing your card with me. My husband's has been arrested for the abuse with our children, and I really would like to sit and talk. And so I began working with this woman, and I began working with this young man, helping them to get a better understanding of who they are and to help them get a better clue of what they have to accept and what they don't have to accept, how to set those healthy boundaries, how to establish that safe place for herself and for her family and for those that are within her family. And we began working with that, and I began working with him through some play therapy and helping him to express and understand that no, you're not stupid, and no, you don't need to get a brain, you have a brain. And we started really working on that, and we really started focusing on helping this young man to become and understand who he was. And she has other children in her family, but he was the one that really stood out because of the whole situation that I was watching and listening and hearing and experiencing. When we explore who we are, we go deeper inside. It's not the superficial surface essence. It's that deep in. What is my passion? What is it that makes my heart just sing? What is it that is my truth? Who am I? What is that part of me that just really gets my excitement for life happening? And that's what I want to help you to get a little bit more of an understanding about, is that we can go there, that we have that right to be. And that's what we came here for. And then not seeing who other people see us as, but seeing ourselves as how we see ourselves. I want you to write down one word as to how you think someone else would describe you. And go ahead and put it in that comment section, and I'm going to read through a little bit of them. But how do you think other people see you? How do, how does maybe your mom see you? How does your boss see you? How does a girlfriend or boyfriend see you, or a significant other or a spouse? How do others see you? How do others perceive you? And okay, we got some good comments coming in. Great. Let's see. My boss says I'm loyal. My wife, okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't read that. My wife, she says I'm a lover. How do other people see you? Friend, companion. Okay, excellent, excellent. These are ways that you think other people see you. These are ways that you perceive what other people are seeing within you. And do you see yourself as that? When you look at that word and when you hear that message, is that how you see yourself as well? Or is it how you see yourself because that's how they see you? When Carl Jung, when he was back in the day and he was creating his philosophies and his psychology and all of those type of things, he said that there's 5 personality traits that everybody has. They are the self-regulator, or your individual self. Who am I? Who do I see myself as? Who does the world see myself as? What makes me individual? What makes me me? What makes me special? The self-regulator. Then we have the shadow. That is that opposing side of ourself. That's that challenging side of ourself that maybe goes against the ego. Maybe it supports the ego. Maybe it exaggerates the ego. But there's that shadow. And then there's also the anima, which is the female within the male. And then there's the animus, which is the male within the female. So that we get that balance and we get that that justification within ourselves, that we're not overly feminine, we're not overly boohoo and emotional and all that type of thing, and we're not overly masculine where I'm going to conquer the world, but we have the balance, which makes us who we are, and who is the residing within this, because it takes both to create and to be who we are. We have to have our masculine self, we have to have our feminine self, and we have to be able to nurture both of those and work with both of those. Excuse me. And then we have the persona. And the persona is that part of how the world sees us. The persona is that window where everybody kind of looks in and says, ah, that's April. I know April. She's this or she's that. Oh, I met her. She's that really nice lady that did this for me, or helped me get some guidance on that for me. Or, oh, she's that person that I'm not so sure I like her. Okay, that's okay. It's what does the world perceive us as? That's our persona. How do people get what they get from us? That type of thing. I want you to think for a moment, and I want you to write down 5 things that you think fit your personality trait. And then we're going to kind of talk about those a little bit. Oh, we got some coming in really quick. Good. Some of the things that fit your personality trait: loving, faithful, quiet. Ooh, good. That's a good one. Shy, loyal. Let's see, bold. Beautiful. Wow. Excellent. Excellent. Fat. I'm sorry. Where'd you hear that from? Who told you that? Why do you have that thought of yourself? Why do you have that limitation of yourself? This person says, I wish I was beautiful and thin. Okay. Those are traits about yourself and your personality. Yeah. Okay. There are different things that are within all of us, and I want you to think, is this how you totally feel about yourself, or is it maybe how somebody else told you to think about yourself? Have you ever been out and kind of heard somebody make rude comments? Boy, she's really fat. Or, well, that took a ton load. Comments like that we apply to our heart. Or maybe something along the lines of, I didn't get this, or I didn't accomplish that, I must be a failure. those type of things? Are they things that you really believe, or are they things that have been kind of projected out onto you? And I want to kind of shift gears just a tiny bit while you guys are thinking about this. And when we think about who we've become, who has been the main contributor, the factor within who you are? Your parents, your teachers, your friends, who you hang out with. Think of some of the other things. Who else could have contributed to your church? The world around you, your boss. As you were little growing up, it was influence of other adults, other kids, maybe laughing at you because you wanted to be an astronaut. And that was something that, you had to be a special person to be that. And they laughed at you because you had that thought. Those are things that you want to consider when you're looking at the truth of who you, okay, somebody just said, I had that happen. I wanted to be an astronaut, and then I was told I couldn't be an astronaut because I had asthma. Wow. There you go. That's like a perfect example of what I'm talking about, how outside limitations and what other people kind of project at us and to us, that becomes a limitation that we create within our own space, and that we create within our own belief system of who we are and where we're going and what it is that we want to accomplish and who we want to be. This is where we start to identify ourselves. This is where we start to identify where did this knowledge come from? Where did this understanding of who I am? I became an ice skater, and as I was an ice skater, I hated it. I didn't want to be an ice skater, but my mom wanted me to be an ice skater so bad that she wanted me, and she put me in these classes, and we did all these events, and we did this, and we did that. I had no desire or dream to be an ice skater, but I became that because that's what my mom's dream was. Because she was living her dream through me. That's what I'm hearing from a statement that I'm reading on the screen, and it was so easy to play off of it. Thank you for sharing that. It's when we become something else for somebody else, they live through us, or they try to protect us, or they try to save us from ourselves. All of those type of things because of maybe where they've been in life and the things that they've been through. So it's not that they're doing it to cause us harm. It's not that they're doing it to try to cause us limitations, but because they think they have our best interest at mind, and they think that they're giving us the best knowledge and wisdom that they can, when in reality, that wisdom and knowledge comes from within, comes from here, comes from who I am and the essence of who I'm going to be. Remember, I was talking to you about that little boy. And as we talked about this little boy, I said, the horrible things this child was hearing. And he was like maybe 8, 9 years old at the time. And it just was like thinking, had he remained in that household, had he remained under the influence of that father, what would he have become? He would have become an abusive father. He would have become someone who had no self-regard for himself, no self-worth, no confidence. Now he has hope because he's in a healing place, and he's getting the help that he needs to realize that he is a phenomenal individual. He's a little bit older now. And we had a conversation not too long ago over the phone. And as we were talking, he said, I've learned that I can do some things that I never thought I would ever be able to do, because I listened and learned who I was, not what somebody else was telling me and creating me to be. And I thought that was a very powerful statement for a young man to make in his early teens, that is the type of thing that we have to realize and, become who we are and honor that and listen to that, and not necessarily take everything at face value just because it's what we were told, or what my father before me was a dentist, and I know I've got to be a dentist, and my great-grandfather was a dentist, and blah, 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 blah. So I know I've got to keep up that family practice. Maybe it's not who you are. I had a guy who came in who said to me, he goes, I'm a dentist and I hate it. I absolutely hate the profession that I'm in. I want so badly to go into the arts. And I was told I couldn't. And I looked at him and I said, why couldn't you? And he goes, because it's the family history. We have to keep that practice going. We have to keep that happening. And I looked at him and I said, well, maybe there's someone else that would fit that niche better. And maybe you should reevaluate it. Sit down and talk to your parents. Sit down and talk to your dad. Sit down and talk to the whole situation and become who it is that you are. And maybe somebody else will come in who has such a passion and a drive to fill that position. It'll make that whole business just bloom and grow. And, little things like that, we have to honor that. We have to stand in the truth of that and say, am I really in the space that I need to be for me? Or am I just doing and fulfilling a dream that maybe my parent had? Or maybe, my relative had, or maybe what my wife wanted me to become. All those are things that you have to understand can be blocks and hindrances to you being able to move forward as your true authentic self. Your true authentic self embraces in here who you are, where you're going forward in life. I want to talk to you a little bit about if I could give you a magic wand and you could wave your magic wand and do whatever and be whatever, who would it be? What would it be? What would it be? What would be that one thing that if you could wave the magic wand and be anything, what would it be? Let's see what we've got coming in. Fairy princess. Let's see. A doctor. Okay. Why did you feel you got held back on that? Education. Didn't have the money. Okay. Didn't want to run up a school debt. Okay. Good. Those are things you have to think about. If I could wave the magic wand and there was nothing that said you couldn't do it, there was no limitation in the way, that's who you need to focus on being. That's who you need to focus on understanding yourself to be and being able to look at that. I want to talk to you a little bit about archetypes. And archetypes are personality traits. We'll call it personality traits for this particular webinar. And when we look at those personality traits, I'm going to pull out just a few here. I think I've got 5 that I've written out. And if you looked at that personality trait and saw it from both the good and the bad, both the positive and the negative, that's how we can start really molding and creating ourselves into becoming. I want to make sure I didn't forget something here. Where would we get most of who it is that we became from? Through programming, through education, through training, through habits, through repetitive conversations, all of those type of things. We talked about that, and I just wanted to make sure I covered that topic before I moved on. But these personality traits that I want to talk about, I believe there's 5 of them that I have written down, is our power self. Our power self looks at everything and says, what do I have to do in order to become who, what, where, why, and when of myself at all cost? I'm going to put everything I need into that. Who am I? What am I about? That's my power self. Now, if you look at that in a positive aspect, wow, that really helps us get a hold of our passions and move forward and really get a hold, grab the bull by the horn, I heard a person say today, and, wrestle that steer to the ground and become who we are going to become and be who we are. And the power self on a negative aspect can be, I don't care who I'm going to hurt in the process. I don't care who I step on in the process. That's where we want to back off and we want to say, wait a minute, I got to reevaluate this. How can I move forward and become this without it causing harm to another? And a lot of times what happens within this too is we start putting other people down in order to see and move ourselves up, because that's what we've been trained. So we have to kind of watch that little manipulation that'll come in when we work with the power self. Then we have the child. The child wants that innocence. That child has no perception of good, bad, ugly, beautiful. They just experience life. And they're innocent about it, and they enjoy it, and they embrace it. But they also kind of get caught in it sometimes, and they keep doing childish things. They keep making decisions that maybe are going to cost them in the end. But then they've been programmed to do that. They've been programmed to, oh, I have to stay within my limitations. I can't this, I can't that. And those are things that'll come in as childish. But also within the child is that right to have fun, that right to go out and play. What is fun to me may be the furthest thing from fun to you. If I were to ask you a specific question, what is it that you can do that you like to have fun? Go ahead and throw some of those ideas up there for me. What is it that you like to do to have fun? And one person, the first thing she says is, I don't know. I haven't had fun. She goes, I haven't had fun for so long. I have no idea what it means to have fun or even how to have fun. That's sad. When you think about it, folks, that child within has learned that she's not allowed to have fun. I want to ask you a question. Did you have siblings? Okay. Where did you fall in that pecking order? Okay, you were the oldest. Were you expected to take care of the rest of those kids? That's what I thought. That's what happens a lot of times. The expectation of how big a family? 4? Okay. The expectations of that oldest child to hold them all together, to help mom and dad take care of those kids, creates the reality that I can't be a kid. I can't do that. I have to be an adult. I have to take care of my younger sister. I have to take care of my younger brother. I have to make sure they have their lunches packed, those type of things. And that starts stealing away that childhood. Okay, I'm going to ask you a particular question. And if it's okay if I call you by name. Yeah, okay, Tammy, if I use you as an example, and within that, Tammy, when you were in that space, did you automatically, you felt like your mom? Okay. You felt like mom was absent. Okay, cool. So you lost that child, didn't you? What do you do for fun now? She works. She works. And she goes, and then, by the way, I work some more. So she doesn't know how to fun. What would be one word you would use to describe fun? I don't know. Okay. You read my question before I even got to ask it of you. And that's what happens is when the child gets pushed away and the child gets repressed, what happens is we forget to have fun. We forget how to have fun. Or maybe you've been in a situation where you've had everything around you so serious, so, wow, this is, serious stuff. I've got to make sure this is taken care of. I've got to make sure that I'm providing and I'm working X amount of hours. I put in over 80 hours a week. Yeah, that's what I just read. I put in over 80 hours a week. Wow. Just to be able to take care of my family. Wow. Do you have fun? No. When? He says when. So those are things you have to think about. Why is that child? We repress them and we push them aside rather than taking time to have fun. Does that mean you have to go out and and spend a big amount of money or do? But you need to find what is it that makes life fun to you, allows that child to come back and enjoy what's happening. I will guarantee to you, this person who's putting in 80 hours a week, your relationship is strained. I will guarantee to you, you could tell me that it's wonderful and perfect, and I would basically look at you and say, I don't think you're living in the same house as your spouse. Because when you're gone that many hours and there's no fun in a relationship, that relationship can go sour. And that relationship can then start to wander. And that oftentimes will happen. And it's because we forget to have fun. We forget to have that childlike way about ourselves. Find that child, find that inner child, and let him or her, start being true. I know that, how many times did we hear when we were growing up, kids should be heard, should be seen and not heard. You got to go to school and get good grades so that you can go into college, so that you can get a good career, so that you can work your butt off. For what? To have fun? No, they don't put that in there, do they? They just want you to work, and they want you to really push through it. When in reality, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, our parents, in their infinite wisdom and love and knowledge, wanted the best for us, but they didn't know. They had generation to generation to generation to generation. And especially if you came from an era and a generation time period where the Depression was a big part of that factor. Those were all things that fed into that and created that. Okay, I want to move on. The victim. Oh my goodness, the victim. What is it that serves me that's going to get me attention? Oh, I don't feel good. Oh, my cat is sick. Oh, 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 oh. They have more things that they can look at and they can say, I am a victim of this situation and I can't move out of it. In the healing modality and practices that I've done for years and years and years, I would have people who would come in. They would do phenomenal work. They would get so much better. They would get so much stronger and they'd start owning their own personal power. And then they'd come back and they'd be back where they were. And then we'd go through the same process again, and then it would go back to where they were. And I remember looking at them and I would say, can you give me a little idea what's going on here, folks? And I learned really early on that a lot of people, because in their victim state, are getting help. Maybe they're getting assistance, maybe they're getting medical care, that type of thing. And that if they moved forward and became better and they were to move out of that victim role, they would lose those benefits. And I had one woman in particular who was 70 years old, and she was not quite physically capable to do a lot of the things that she could have. And as we worked, she would get stronger and she'd be able to, and then she'd be, but I can't get better because if I get better at 70, I can't lose my benefits. And so that's where accepting that victim place and accepting what society and the environment and the social status quo, whatever you want to call it, creates is that sometimes if I get better, if I move past the victim, I'll lose what I have. And that really feeds the victim. And so the victim, we really have to watch carefully when we allow that victim to just connect in there and hook on. Also within the victim, the person doesn't want to take responsibility for themselves. It's all her fault that you're doing this. It's all your fault that she's this or that. When in reality, it's they're not living into being responsible for themselves. They're not taking care of themselves. They're not being their own responsibility. And it's easier to push it off on somebody else. So those are some of the things you want to think about within the victim. Do I want to get caught in that? Do I want to hold myself in that space? Do I want to maybe move myself out of that? Don't harbor the heart of a victim is what I'm hearing as a message to share with you guys. Don't harbor that place, and don't. Okay, I just got a comment. If I can't be the victim, how do I be the victor? Oh, I love that statement. Oh my gosh, that's so phenomenal. Don't be the victim, be the victor. Be the one who's standing on top of that mountain. Be the one who is being your true integritous self, taking responsibility for that process. There's ways and there's things you can do, and there's different things that you can adjust in your life so that you don't stay in that place of the victim, so you don't hold yourself there. I guess let me kind of throw me a little bit of an idea what you're thinking about. Okay, I'll let you finish typing that out, and I'm going to move on just a little bit. We're going to talk about the saboteur. A saboteur is the one who sets themselves up to fail every time. I'm just starting to be successful. I'm just starting to really move forward with my life, and I'm just starting to really embrace who I am, and I'm afraid to be successful. I'm afraid to not have this happen. My gosh, what would I do? Who would I be? Because we've been somebody. We've been who we've been programmed, trained, and taught to be. So we self-sabotage ourselves to stay in that place. Rather than moving through, rather than pushing ourselves through, we want to stay in that space. We want to hold ourselves captive. We self-sabotage ourselves. It can be, I want to lose all this weight, but yet when you go home, you eat a whole box of cookies. Or I really want to get my mental health into a much better state, but I'm going to read junk. I'm going to sit in front of the TV all the time. I'm going to sit in front of the computer all the time. I'm not necessarily going to learn anything. I'm not necessarily going to start working on how can I make myself move mentally in a further manner. It's because we've accepted what we've been told and sold. They sell us a bill of goods and we buy them. I'm rebel. A rebel with a cause. A rebel with a cause can either be really empowering or can be really destructive. Am I a rebel with a cause, number one, that is my cause? Is it a cause that I feel within my heart? Or is it a cause because I want to get in alignment and I want to get and do because I want to be able to stand out within the crowd and I want to be special? Or is it a bully? Or is it the victim that the bully has found? All those little things, go into play and into key factors here of who we are and who we allow ourselves to become. Okay, we got our comment here. The victim, he says, I don't want to be the victim anymore, but I'm afraid that if I let go of that space, my wife will leave me. Okay. I think you and I need to talk offside of the air. And I'm going to have you give me a call. I believe on the information that is out there, you'll find my phone number. You can find it on my website. Let's talk. Let's take this beyond something that we talk about on this type of program. So I'm going to move on this a little bit more. You want to find your true self. You want to find out, who is it that you are? Who is it that truly you are? Not who your parents, who your teachers, who programming, who training, who money circumstances, who spiritual training, all of that created. The truth of the matter is, who are you? Who are you as that individual? Who are you as that person, that individual, that power self? What makes your heart sing? How do you love to have fun? And how do you love to enjoy your life? And what do you want to do with your life? In a session, I was working with someone earlier today. They said, I want to help. I want to be of help, but I can't because I was told I couldn't. I was told that I was incapable of being of help to anyone. And that's through perceived lies and deceptions that were put into her path and into her life through different circumstances. Those are things that hold us back from being our true self. Maybe you're not athletic at all, but your parents, I just had a remembering situation. As anybody knows, I'm very sports minded. I love sports. I love to be a part of sports. I hate to watch them. I want to be out there on the field, on the slope, on the machine. I want to be the one out there doing it. And my oldest is a girl, and she's very much a girl. And as that girl, I wanted her to play t-ball. And I will never remember or never forget taking her to the field. And she's standing there in front of the t-ball, little T with the ball on it, and her bat in her hand. She's got her sneakers on, which she hates because she wanted to have on her little sandal high heels. And she's standing there and she goes, you can't make me hit it. You can't make me hit it. You can't make me swing this bat. You can't make me do it. And, that was a big lesson for me as a mom. I didn't want to make her and create her into being somebody or something that she was not. When my boys were growing up, I didn't put limitations on them. I'd give them an understanding. There's consequences for actions. They used to love to go out and walk across the ridge of our shed. And I remember going out there and taking a handful of little eggs and getting up on the roof with them, which was not my favorite thing to do. And I remember saying to him, now, I want you to use wisdom, young men, as you're playing and as you're doing. And they would go up on the ridge and the basketball hoop was there, and then they would drop the ball off the edge into their hoop. I thought that was the greatest fun on the face of the earth for them. They even moved the own little cinder blocks so that they had their own little steps to get up there. And it was when we said, okay, the consequences of this could be, not saying it will happen, but it's something that could happen. If you fell, you could get hurt, not to produce fear, but to produce a realization. Don't, learn your boundaries, learn your healthy boundaries, learn what you can do, learn what you can handle, and go that route. To this day, and my kids are just phenomenal. The things that they will do and the places they will go and the experiences they've had, it just makes me feel so blessed that we had the knowledge that as they were growing up to let them decide, to let them have the opportunity to understand it. We gave them guidance. Yes, definitely we want to give them guidance, but we have to be so careful what we say, how we act. go running out the door after them because they've maybe done something that we're afraid they're going to get hurt from. But rather than that, but train them up to show them the truth, to allow them to have that truth. And it can make and it can change so much. And that's the same thing we want to do within ourselves. Learn our boundaries, learn our healthy boundaries, learn our realities. Maybe it's the kind of thing where you have always wanted to go and become a chess pro, and you go and you sit there and you've all of a sudden realized, oh, that is really not anything I've wanted to do. Don't know where that came from, but I'm going to let that one go. But then you also get another young man who does that, who has a strategic mind and a creative mind and the ability to sit there and just really see that whole big arena develop into a game. And those are the kind of things that you want to learn how to do. You want to learn how to focus on and give yourself the right to be yourself and to honor that part of yourself. So, our parents, and as parents and as individuals, we do the best that we can. And now it's time to gather your knowledge and gather your wisdom and say, I don't have to go maybe work a 9 to 5. Maybe I can go into network marketing. Maybe I can work for myself. Whether I can, maybe I want to travel the world, and I can see that as a possibility now, because that's truly what's in my heart. It's what makes me sing. That's what I see as fun. Another person may look at it and say, are you kidding? I don't want to leave my own backyard. The most fun. I think it's more fun to do this or that. Those are individual things that you're going to find and you're going to create and you're going to do within your own healthy boundaries. And you're going to create that environment that's around you that is a blessing for you. For attending this webinar, I'm going to kind of bring it to a close and wrap it up. And I want to say thank you for coming in and joining me this evening and for sharing from your heart. And a lot of the things I saw, I didn't read because a lot of it's personal. A lot of it's very individual. And a lot of times, when you're reading something here that says, my mom made me become, like she said, she felt like she was Cinderella to the rest of the kids in her family. Those are things that are heartbreaking. And we lose sight of who we really are because of that. And those are the things that we need to be able to really grasp and work with and create and become. And I have a book out, and the book is Understanding Who We Are. And it's a book that basically gives you tools and understanding of why this stuff has happened, why we've become the individuals we've become, how we can reprogram and reclaim ourselves, and how we can let go of that which is not serving our higher good, and how we can draw into ourselves that which is serving our higher good. And maybe things we want to try, and maybe things we want to see if it fits. And in this book, it's an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more. There's a few exercises in it, a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, a lot of truly understanding what it means to be your true intrinsic self. What does it truly mean to be you? And for those of you that have attended the webinar, I'm offering it to you for shipping and handling for $5.50. It's normally going to sell for $14.95 to those who order it off of the shelf, but to those who order it from me off of the webinar here, it's going to be $5.50 to cover shipping and handling. And if you want to order it, you want to send an email to April Lugo, PhD @yahoo.com. That's April Lugo. April is in the month. Lugo, Lugo, PhD @yahoo.com. And you can send me an email and tell me that you want to order the book, and we'll make connections and we'll go through the process so that we can get that book ordered for you and delivered to your door, and so that you can gain that information as well. It's also going to become a, what do they call those? An electronic book that you can do like through Kindle, that type of thing. I don't have that available yet, but you can always stay in touch with me about it if you're looking for a book in that manner. Also, what we're going to do is I have a free, to you guys here on the webinar, I have a free guide. And in that guide, you're going to work through it step by step on how you can reprogram yourself to be free, to be your true intrinsic self. So you get the book for 550 for spending a little bit of time with me and for sharing your fabulous stories. I'm so thankful, and I so enjoyed reading a lot of that and connecting with a lot of that. But also, you get the guide on how to reprogram yourself. Send me an email at aprillugophd@yahoo.com. And thank you once again. It's been my pleasure to be with you and sharing with you. And I wish you the best on your journey as you're learning and becoming your true intrinsic self.